What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Next Level Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Ant-Man Z, as always, with my main man, Andrew Crash Nash. Good to see you today, brother.
Yes, sir.
As everybody can tell on the screen, we're talking about what might be a little bit of a hot button topic today in college football, and that is, should college football have a commissioner like the NFL does, right? Let me share with you something that I found online, Crash, and then I really want to get your thoughts on this overall. This is what I read from one of our guys, Penn State head coach James Franklin. He's the one that started this all off, isn't he? Listen to what he said. He said, quote, "I think one of the most important things we can do is let's get a commissioner of college football that is waking up every single morning and going to bed every single night, making decisions that's in the best interest of college football."
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that what it's going to take in this world, as you know, to make change, people got to stand up with their voices. That's the one thing that we have. Thank God we're here in the United States of America where we still have some amount of freedom of speech so that we can come together and put forth ideas like this. Because like you said, sometimes ideas come out and somebody else hears it and they say, "Oh, that is awesome." And then that person expands on that idea. And then somebody else hears that and they expand on that idea. And the whole thing grows. They always say, especially in football, we talk about bad things happening. We call it that snowball effect. When you're missing blocks and you're missing tackles, now you're throwing interceptions and you're not in the right place. It's a snowball effect. It grows and grows. But the same is true for positive things. Here, this is a positive thing that needs discussed more. And so I'm glad that you brought it to my attention this morning that, hey, we need to enter the fight. This is something we should be getting involved with because you firmly believe in this, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. It was something that God put in my spirit even the earliest morning. There's always something that's why. Let me share this as well, as if I may, because this is a platform where we can share our faith as well. That's what makes you and I is going to make us so unique because we know where our source comes from, man. Right. So this morning I was hearing this in my spirit, and yes, sir. Yes, sir. There it is. And so, but I want to share something about men's intellect. And do you have his picture, by the way? One of my mentors that I had played in Scarface.
Sure, I can bring
Al
it up for you.
Israel. And Al is the one that really, responded to this one morning in his vehicle as we was going somewhere. And I just threw this out there. It was a concern of mine. It's something that we see in the world today, a division in our world so much, racism and agendas. And, part of my history is that I was married to an African-American woman. I've been a lot of different places, and that's good, right? You get to rub shoulders and mingle with different people, Asians, Brazilians. I mean, I've been around the block, and I say that for a purpose and a reason. Notice that one of our people up there is Louis Riddick. See, my agenda would be instantly just to want to focus on, well, my first thought actually was Joe Klatt. And then all of a sudden God had to check me in my spirit and say, "Hey, wait a minute. Are you not being biased here?" And there's another guy out there. And I said, I came across him about beginning of college football season. And this is a class act guy, Louis Riddick. If you don't know who he is, most of you, all of you probably do if you follow football, especially college. Class act guy, man, smooth character. He's been a GM, I believe, in the NFL. He's been places, ex-football player himself. I really, really like Louis Riddick and Joe Klatt that could keep the integrity and even build upon it. Because see, we're not wanting to regress. We want to progress, right, in life.
Right.
And so college football.
So speaking of that, what do you think would be some areas that a commissioner, regardless of who it is, we can kind of float some names around if we want to.
Sure.
Of course, I'm not opposed to Louis Riddick being from Pittsburgh. I love him being a former Panther. I don't forget that. And he is a very smooth guy. And I don't just, sometimes we say smooth, we think like, either smooth criminal but no, he has just a way of saying things, right? That is a peacemaker. He seems to be such a peacemaker, which is such an important person that if you're going to have a commissioner, it's somebody that has to be able to reach both players, coaches, fans, and be loyal to all of them while being loyal to the institutions, the
Integrity.
schools that are the framework of what college football is all about. But my question to you is, what are some areas that you think a commissioner could have an immediate impact on that would help the game out tremendously? Like, I know in our pre-talk, you mentioned the issue that we're having on the field with targeting. What do you think of that?
Yeah. How much time do we have now?
Because
the list is long, right? Well, I saw targeting, and I'm not just talking about the plays that happen in a split second. I'm talking about pre-planning game, schemes to actually go after specific players. I've seen it last year. I'll give you an example. There was one, if you may, I remember this one well. It was Travis Hunter. Some may remember it, and the Colorado State kid. And listen, I played football. There, he had about 10 yards to pull up. He went ahead and just kept on going at the angle he was, and Travis, the ball wasn't even in the air. I mean, it flew over everybody's head, and this kid came right in, boom, and it actually made a laceration on Travis Hunter's, was it kidneys or liver or something, and put him out for some games. And it was clearly targeting. They had it out.
Yeah. Well,
that out.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's something that's existed in sports, goes way back in the day. Before there was a lot of eyes on it, let's say, it was probably well within practices to say, hey, this is the most important player on the other team. Let's do something we got to do to take them out. Yeah, maybe not as criminal as I'm making it sound, but you could even make the argument that in today's hockey that still kind of happens to a degree. There's a reason why in the NHL, that's the National Hockey League, there's a reason why they don't disclose what the extent of the injury is the way that they did in football. They just designate it as an upper body injury or a lower body injury. And that's because historically speaking, hockey players were known to go after that person's, injured area to help take them out of the game. And
hey, my own personal experience, anybody that played with me knows when I came back out of retirement my last year, I never had before, but I started wearing knee braces. Why did Crash do that? Well, people don't realize that I had threats off the field that a certain player said, hey, man, when we play, I'm coming at you. I'm going at your knees. And I was like, what? Yeah. Now, those are serious words. And for me, even Ray Lewis, some of the greatest hitters, will tell you, I'm going out there to hurt you, but I'm not going out there to injure you. There's a big difference. And anybody that does that, you don't even need to play the game. You need to be expelled from the game forever.
Right. And then, of course, we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about, especially when I'm mentioning the hockey players, these are adults that have been playing the sport their entire life, and they're used to that level of targeting. And so they've mentally prepared to prevent that happening as much as they can on their end. When we're talking about college football, Crash, we're talking about kids. Most of them are between the ages of 18 and 22 years old. And I don't think that they're really out there, running back a kickoff or trying to catch a pass on the sideline, thinking that somebody's going to purposely gun for their legs or their knee or to take them out in a way to benefit their team. But you know what? The NFL has done a fabulous job, I think. Roger Goodell's the commissioner that's there now, and he's been there for a couple of decades, hasn't he? But he's amazing. He's that guy that's able to bridge the gap between owners, fans, and players. And that's a three-way bridge that everything has to kind of work together synergistically. And I don't know if we give him as much credit as he probably deserves for making all that happen. You and I both remember there are times where the NFL used to go into strike, and you talk about a depressed America. You take away our football for an entire season. What are we supposed to do? And I feel that if something doesn't happen in college football, we're going to end up with a few things that are starting to intersect. It's the targeting. It's the college football playoff system. It's the transfer portal. These things are kind of like the wild, wild west right now. Are they not, Crash?
Yeah. So, I mean, there has to be order as we move along and implement new things, right? And evolving. Somebody has to run that in order that needs to be ahead and in control of that, right? Or we're gonna swirl out of control really quick, right? And the integrity, we want to progress, not regress. And so yeah, I believe it's absolutely needed.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's why we picked these three people here. Now, I would probably say that the fan favorite would obviously be Nick Saban. When you think of the name Nick Saban, you just think college football Mount Rushmore, right? And he's
Right.
he's one of, if not the only face on it, because it seems like nothing that this guy puts his hands to doesn't prosper. So I feel like he would be a good fit there. I don't know if he would want to do it, and that's why you brought up our other two guys. You got Joe Klatt and you got Louis Riddick. What are your thoughts on them?
Well, yeah, I mean, Joe, ex-quarterback, he's played the game. As I have started really being interested in college football yet again and locked in and on it, not gonna lie, I want people that are grounded, that know what they're talking about. They've been there, they've done that, right? And they know
Yeah.
what they're talking about, and they don't change. All right, there's that balance. They remain locked in, and Joe's one of those guys. If you've listened to him, he's right on. Not perfect, none of us are, but he's pretty spot on. And then you go over to Louis Riddick, and when I say smooth, I don't mean a player or getting over on people.
Yeah.
I'm talking about just the same way, solid. You can trust what he says outside of football, I'm sure, and inside of football, right? The way that they live their lives, people that are of integrity, and to bring that into college football.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on Nick?
Oh, Saban? Oh, I mean, look, he's right there in the middle, right? But like you said, would he really want to do it? Because it's going to have to be something, a full-time job. Like Coach said, what was it for Penn State? It's one of those things where you're going to have to go to bed with it and wake up with it. It's going to be a job or, more than a career, a job.
It is. Yeah. I believe, though, that if this is going to take off, it is going to be something, like we said at the beginning of the program, it's going to have to start at a grassroots level where a guy on a podcast talks about it, a coach makes a comment, other guys like us pick it up and run with it. And now you got everybody in the nation discussing what should happen. And I think that these grassroots movements, not just us, but you guys, the viewers out there, make your voices heard too. Who do you think should be running the show? And let me just put you on the spot real quick, Crash. If you had to pick one of them and you had to put all your eggs in one basket, who do you like?
Yeah, without an agenda and without any biasness or because if they're my own race and color.
Right. Yeah. Avoid all that and just go with who do you think would be the best person? If you could nominate this person that would do everything that Coach said, go to sleep with this, wake up with this, make it a full-time job and pour his heart and soul into it, who's the guy?
I say Joe Klatt.
You like Joel? Okay. Yeah, I got no argument from you there. Class act guy, knows college football in and out, has an understanding of the inner workings, and I feel like he can be the guy to maybe go around and be that in-between guy to set up a structure to make things happen. Now, this is going to have to be one of those situations where he couldn't be the only sheriff in town, so to speak. It's going to take a council of people to help him as well.
Well, that's what I want to add. Why not have Nick Saban and Louis Riddick or somebody like that? Let's bring Louis in as well. Let's cumulative, you know what I mean? Let's make it more than just one person having the power here. You know what I mean? Let's have them have a board. But what I was going to dive into, who are these people that make these decisions now, like on like the awards and the AP poll, because as we have seen in college football, we could throw that AP poll right out the door, man.
Oh,
You guys
absolutely.
they were terrible.
Yeah, that's been like that for decades, though, hasn't it? They've been at best questionable, but you're right. There needs to be a directive of people who are running
Mm,
the show and that have accountability. Right now, the AP has no accountability, do they? They can
mhm.
do whatever they want. They can go whichever way the wind blows, and the only accountability they have is backlash from the public. And honestly, and I don't think you were mad at it either, but that's one of the reasons why they've gone to a college football playoff format, because the whole top 25 ranking system was just starting to take a nosedive and it was not working for today's society, was it?
No, not at all. And still people are, is this new system good or is it not? Whatever. Well, you know, like I said, these guys know football and they know college football. So, and I consider them pros. So,
Yeah.
you know what? Like Bo knows the same
Yeah.
way. Let,
Yeah.
let's let those guys make those type of tough decisions that need to be made and made correctly.
Absolutely. That being said, Crash, let me ask you a question. If
Sure.
I made a video with you about Joel Klatt for college football commissioner, would you stand behind that and give us your reasons for it?
Sure, I would, man.
Okay,
Absolutely.
awesome. Let's do
Oh,
that in another one then.
and I just wanted to add one other hot topic is the
Sure.
NIL now, and taking advantage of kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These
Yep.
guys can also set some order in that as well, so it protects these young players and their
Yeah.
money.
And that's going to be a huge thing. Like you just said, as money has now entered the mix, there has to be some oversight to this. And the thing that you touched on the most is it has to be people that are competent and trustworthy. And all three of these guys do that. But we'll come back and make a video. It'll almost be like a Joel Klatt for president, but it'll be for commissioner. So let us know what you guys think down in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe, share it around. We would love to hear your guys' comments and who you think should be a college football commissioner, or if there even should be one. But either way, we appreciate you all, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless.
God bless.